In today's video, I'm going to be predicting every single game in week 2. And last week, there were some crazy results. Sunderland and Leeds United winning their first game of the season. If that's not a sign that they're going to stay up, then I don't know what is. But we've got games like Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur, and we've got Newcastle versus Liverpool. The Isak situation is bonkers. But we've also got Goal of the Week at the end of the video. We've also got comparing mine, ChatGPT, and the random football scoreline generators results on how we actually did at predicting last week. So that's going to be interesting. But for now, let's get predicting. Starting off on the Friday night kickoff at the London Stadium, it's West Ham United versus Chelsea, a London derby, and by far the most shocking result last week, in my opinion, was Chelsea versus Crystal Palace drawing 0-0. Chelsea, you had loads of opportunities to go ahead against Crystal Palace, and so did Crystal Palace, like that disallowed free kick. Chelsea, you did fantastic throughout the Club World Cup. Don't really write anything into it and how it was 0-0. You're not going to return to being a mid-table man then. Definitely not. I think it's just one of those where it's just a one-off. But there were a few concerns that you only scored 0 goals and you did draw 0-0. So I'm not going to go for a crazy thrashing in this game. I do think you would win because West Ham can't beat a newly promoted championship side, which is concerning. But you are still a great team. I think it was just a one-off, getting time for your new signings to gel. I'm going 2-0 Chelsea. Another clean sheet for Chelsea. But I'll be very surprised if a team like West Ham will be able to get anything against Chelsea. And you have to remember, West Ham, in my opinion, are a worse side than Crystal Palace, so it's going to be a bit more of an easier game for Chelsea.
West Ham versus Chelsea. West Ham were blown away 3-0 at Sunderland and looked loose on rest defence. Chelsea's 0-0 at home to Palace was controlled, if blunt. With space to improve and counter at the London Stadium, Chelsea will nick it 2-1. Up the Blues.
Over to the Saturday kickoffs. It's at Eddie Howe. Over to the Saturday kickoffs, and it's at the Etihad Stadium. It's Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur, in recent time in the past, they haven't done too shabby against Manchester City. But when I look at Reinders and I look at Cherky, both getting their debut goals in a 4-0 thrashing against Wolves, my gosh, they look threatening. I mean, they've already got a replacement for De Bruyne. Reinders, brilliant dribbler, brilliant passer, brilliant playmaker, and what a great assist to the assist of Erling Haaland's goal. Even Oscar Bob is doing brilliantly. And I know it's only Wolves, but still, it's a really good sign. And Tottenham, they won 3-0 against Burnley. We're going to have to talk about Richarlison, because that overhead kick, that was brilliant. I mean, he had 2 volley good goals in that game against Burnley. Kudus looked good, and thinking about it, their attack is improving. And I feel like it's not going to be as reckless as Ange Postecoglou's football under Thomas Frank. Brentford under Thomas Frank last year still had very high scoring games. And I don't think it's always going to be like this, but because Man City in recent years seem to start off seasons really dominant, I feel like Manchester City are going to score loads of goals. Doesn't matter if Thomas Frank is less reckless than Ange Postecoglou. Man City look way too good in the attack. And especially at home, they are going to thrive. I think Man City are going to win this. They're going to score 3 goals, but I think Tottenham are going to score 2. I'm going 3-2. I still feel like if Man City are going to score loads of goals because their attack looks brilliant, but Tottenham still look good under Thomas Frank. So it's going to be 3-2 and it's going to be close.
Etihad Stadium will be roaring with their new signings. Manchester City just thumped Wolves 4-0 and look in gear. Spurs were slick in a 3-0 win over Burnley, so they'll land a punch. But Manchester City's control and late-game bench tilt it 2-1 to Manchester City.
To the Vitality Stadium, it's AFC Bournemouth versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, and AFC Bournemouth showed that guy in the crowd wrong. Semenyo showed him wrong. What a great goal. Brilliant Semenyo. But Bournemouth, they were 2-2 at one point against Liverpool, and to be fair, they didn't do too shabby against Liverpool. Just near the end, Liverpool's quality showed up Bournemouth. And you have to admit, losing 4-2 to Liverpool when you're doing pretty good isn't too shabby of a result, despite it being a loss. And being at home, I feel pretty confident. Ruffett doesn't look terrible in Kirkes's position. I know they've lost Altara, but they've still got a fantastic attack. And Wolves, I'm sorry, but you didn't score once against Manchester City. I know it is Manchester City, but still, I wasn't really impressed with you in your transfer window. I still am not. And Bournemouth look like a better team. And with their attacking threat and their signings that they brought in to replace the defenders and to bring in Petrovic, I think they're fine replacements. I feel like there will be a goal from Strand Larsen, probably a constellation goal. I think Bournemouth are going to rip shreds, as this is possibly one of the most easiest games of the season, especially at that Vitality Stadium. That small stadium, it's going to be hard for Wolves to properly get going. 3-1 Bournemouth.
Bournemouth versus Wolves. Bournemouth showed threat at Anfield, scoring twice in a 4-2 loss, and will press high at home. Wolves, stung after a 4-0 loss to City, will tighten up. They're both mid-table sides, so I feel like a cagey draw, 1-1 between Bournemouth and Wolves.
Over to the G-Tech Community Stadium, Brentford versus Aston Villa. I was not expecting Brentford to concede 3 goals. I saw how Nottingham Forest was in pre-season, and I thought they wouldn't score many Nottingham Forest. I got it right that they would win Nottingham Forest, but not that they'd score 3 goals. And Brentford, quite a few concerns. The only goal you scored was because of a penalty from Thiago, which is going to give him a bit of confidence. But even at home, against Aston Villa, yeah, I'm going 1-0 Aston Villa. I feel like Aston Villa, obviously you don't have Ezri Konsa after he stupidly got a red card against Newcastle United, but I still feel like you're going to be able to get a clean sheet. Altara has come into Brentford, but it's going to get time to gel and he might not straight away start. And really, Thiago only scored because of a penalty. You do have some other good talent, but it didn't really work against Nottingham Forest. And I still feel like the fact that Aston Villa got a clean sheet against Newcastle, I still feel like they've got enough defensive capability against Brentford. I wouldn't be too tempted of giving Brentford a goal and making Aston Villa score 2 goals. The reason why I haven't given Brentford a goal and Aston Villa 2 goals is because Aston Villa didn't really look like themselves. Against Newcastle in the first half, they had 0 shots. They just weren't shooting. And Newcastle looked like the much better side in the first half and after the red card. And it was a bit of concern. But really, at the end of it, Aston Villa, this is an easier game. You've got it in the bag.
A lot of Brentford players are leaving, and the squad is thin. Brentford leaked 3 at Nottingham Forest and lost it 3-1, struggling with runners. Aston Villa's 0-0 draw against Newcastle United showed defensive discipline, but I'm going 2-0 to Aston Villa.
Over to Turf Moor, Burnley versus Sunderland, and I am gonna go 2-0 to Sunderland. You can already see the difference between the Championship and Premier League. Burnley never once conceded more than 2 goals in a game last year. They went on to straight away start the season off with conceding 3 goals. That evidently tells you a lot, and I think Sunderland have strengthened much better than Burnley. But the fact that it was 3-0, a 3-0 win against West Ham, surely that's going to give you confidence. The fact that you started the season so well, it's going to carry on for at least a little bit. And especially against the easiest team to play against, Sunderland will win this. Sorry Burnley, I feel like you will have a defensive plan and be good defensively at times against Sunderland. But with Habib Diarra in there, my gosh, he is fast, he is electric, and he's going to cause havoc to that Burnley defence. With Ballard, which can I say, great defender, helped out Roofs with an off-the-line defensive clearance, scored a fantastic header, and with all that said and done, the fact that even their Championship promoted side is good because all 3 of the goal scorers in that game was with Sunderland in the Championship, I feel even more confidence that Sunderland are going to win this. Sorry, but Carl Walker and the defence is not cutting it for me for them to get a clean sheet in this. 2-0 Sunderland, pretty decently comfortable. Sunderland look threatening.
Two newly promoted sides to the Premier League. Sunderland are buzzing after a statement 3-0 win versus West Ham United, but at Turf Moor, it is going to be a grind. So I feel like Burnley will nick a goal and it'll be 1-1. Burnley respond with aggression and set pieces. Momentum meets resistance, equals they're gonna share the points.
Over to the Emirates Stadium, it's the Gunners versus Leeds United. When I was watching that game, Leeds United, in the first half, you were energetic, sharp, and the way you attacked, like on the left side, your triangle passes with Goodmanson, Nonto, and Anton Stack. Those triangle passes to get out of those tight spaces was brilliant. And your attack, the way you built up, was really, really fast. But to be fair, when you tried to get the ball into the penalty box, the likes of Dan James couldn't really run in behind the defence because Everton set up their defence really, really well under David Moyes. But overall, even in the second half, when you obviously weren't attacking as much because Everton kind of put on the pedal and started pushing up the field a bit more in the second half, even then, when you were on the attack, each time you look threatening, you look fast. That's a really impressive win, and I think you deserve the win, even though that penalty I don't think should have been a penalty, because the handball rules should probably be changed because they are too complicated. Even that said, they deserved to win that game. Nameka, great penalty, even the goalkeeper went the right way. Leeds United, you're definitely staying up now. But going against Arsenal of all teams, it's going to be tough. But guess what? I'm giving Leeds United 1 goal. You will be really attacking, and I'm going to say you're going to score first against Arsenal. But Arsenal, against Man United, you were a bit lucky. You did not have a dominant performance, and Gyökeres didn't really get kicked off. But really, I think he will score in this game. I mean, we've seen Leeds last year, the way Daniel Farke plays with the fullbacks getting really high up. I feel like Arsenal, the likes of Saka and Gyökeres there, they're going to be able to capitalise that plan by Farke and how open Leeds can be, and they're going to get 2 goals. At home as well, 2-1 to Arsenal. I'm sorry, Leeds United, but it's against a title challenging team, so it's going to be very tough.
Arsenal facing a newly promoted side, Leeds United. Arsenal walked out of Old Trafford with a 1-0 control, maturity game. Few chances were conceded against Man United, but Leeds United beat Everton 1-0 and will press high with intensity. But the step up at the Emirates is very steep. Arsenal will pick them off and win this 3-0 at the mighty Emirates Stadium.
ChatGPT, that is harsh. 3-0? No, that is way too harsh. And the random number generator, absolutely love it. 4-3. I would love that to come true. Over to Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. And this feels like a draw written all over. 1-1 between Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant versus Brentford. But against Crystal Palace, they did well against Chelsea. Eze has been denied another free kick, like the really good free kick last year. He was denied that, and it's been denied again, and the rules are the rules really, so I can't really complain there. But Crystal Palace, well done, that point is brilliant. But you do have Conference League football on Thursday, and I think it's a shame that you couldn't win the Europa League appeal, because you should have went in the Europa League, but it is what it is, you've still got Conference League, and you're probably going to win that, to be honest. But you might be a bit tired, and whether Eze is there or not, I still feel like you're going to put up a good fight. And with the home advantage as well, I don't see you losing this.
Crystal Palace were compact in a 0-0 draw versus Chelsea. Nottingham Forest were direct and dangerous in a 3-1 win over Brentford. Strength versus strength, mid-table sides versus mid-table sides. Palace's structure versus Forest's counter-attacks equals an even game. 1-1 between Palace and Forest.
Over to Goodison Park. Wait a minute. No, it's their new stadium, which I always forget the name of. But it doesn't matter. Everton versus Brighton. This is the one game out of all the games which I've taken the longest to think of. I don't know why, but I cannot set on what the score is going to be. Is it going to be an Everton draw or a Brighton win? That's as much as I narrowed it down to. It's very hard because Everton, they looked awful in both the halves in my opinion. They never really got attacking in the first half. When they were a bit more attacking in the second half against Leeds, they looked really slow in the build-up to their attack. Unlike Leeds, they looked fast and energetic and good and sharp. And their new signings in the attack like Barry and Grealish, they were on the bench. They really couldn't do much when coming off the pitch. I'm only giving Everton a goal if Grealish actually can get enough minutes to make an impact. If he can, then I feel like he's going to make a really good impact for Everton and he will help Everton get a goal. But Brighton, I so want to give them a win because against Fulham, yes, it was only the penalty to put them over, but I felt like they were a better side. Their defence did really well to stop Fulham making chances, so that's really good. And that is another reason why I feel like Everton's going to struggle, because the way the defence was against Fulham. And the attack, they were threatening on the attack, and it looks like they might be keeping Belieber. It's just really tough, but I feel like Everton at the new stadium, they're going to be able to thrive. And I'm counting on Grealish doing well. Another reason why I'm not going to go for Everton to lose, despite a really bad loss against Leeds, is because their defence. I thought the defence did really well to stop the likes of Dan James and Willie Gnonto running in behind the defence. They had a really deep defensive line to stop Leeds United from running in behind the defence. So because of that, I think it's going to be low scoring and they're going to be able to clinch a point. I'm going 1-1. It could easily go Brighton's way.
Everton versus Brighton. Everton created little in a 1-0 loss at Leeds United. Brighton's 1-1 with Fulham still showed control and chance volume, and they looked better than Everton did. They'll keep the ball, wait for gaps, and finish. 2-0, away Brighton win.
Over to Craven Cottage. It's the Cottagers versus Manchester United. Manchester United, you're going to be happy with a 1-0 loss, surely. I know it's starting off with a loss, but I said in my prediction video, you're going to narrowly lose, but you're going to perform really good. That's exactly what happened. It was just 1-0 rather than 2-1, as I said. So I predicted that game pretty well, and Man United, at the start of the season when you faced Fulham, you won at 1-0 last year. So I feel like you're going to win it again. I mean, Man United, you look brilliant. Already seen Matheus Cunha. The way he just made something out of nothing and he dribbled past the Arsenal players was brilliant. Those are some great signs. They've now had a game to integrate themselves into the side, the likes of Mbeumo, likes of Cunha. And Sesko, he didn't really have time to gel. Like Gyökeres, he didn't have that much time. So now against an easier opponent, the fact that they had so much promise in that first game, yeah, they're going to be cooking. 2-1 to Manchester United, and I am confident they're going to win this game. Sorry Fulham, you only just about scraped it against Brighton right at the last minute. So I feel like you're going to struggle a bit against this new Man United side, which is really improving. But you're going to give it a good go at Craven Cottage. As against any team, you always give it a good go.
Fulham looked organised away in their 1-1 draw. United are under pressure after a 1-0 loss to Arsenal, so you'll get a reaction. Just not quite enough to crack sturdy Fulham. 1-1 between Fulham and Manchester United.
Monday night kickoff is at St James's Park, Newcastle United versus Liverpool. And oh my gosh, Isak ain't going to be playing for neither of these sides in this game, which I suppose is a plus and a negative for Newcastle. I don't want to get into the situation, it seems very messy, and I really want to know the full story of what's actually going on from both sides. But let's get on to the positives. We know how Newcastle have been in the transfer window, but we still have signed some good players in other areas to strengthen. But it looks like Wissa ain't gonna be here in time for this game. But I'm pretty happy that Liverpool have been a bit leaky, a bit concerning in the defence. Their new defenders might take some time to gel. Against Bournemouth, they conceded 2 goals. And oh my gosh, I haven't mentioned it yet, but why did I change my prediction? I said 4-2 to Liverpool, and I then changed it at the last minute. I'm not changing another prediction, because that's where I went wrong. That was so annoying. That would have been the best prediction if I kept it the same. Anyway, the way Liverpool's defence was, I feel like Newcastle can grab a couple of goals. I know Newcastle don't have Isak, but Anthony Elanga, he was involved in 2 big chances, and he looks really threatening. He was involved in the through ball to Gordon, which eventually led to a Ezri Konsa red card. He was involved in a really big shot, which he should have scored. If he can do that stuff again, I feel big promise that Newcastle can score 2 goals. Because our side, I was impressed. I said Newcastle would lose against Aston Villa, but because we managed to draw 0-0, and we deserved to win that game because we were the dominant side in the first half and the dominant side after the red card, my gosh, that's really big promise that the rest of the side is good. And because of the rest of the side is good, Liverpool ain't scoring more than 2 goals past us. But Ekitike is also good, so he's going to score some great goals. His ball control was brilliant in that striker position, and a great finisher as well. But the reason why I feel like we're going to score 2 goals isn't just because Liverpool are leaky, it's also because if you think about it, strikers aren't always the players to get goals. Wingers sometimes get goals from situations, and we could have easily got goals against Aston Villa. So I feel like it's going to be a one-off where we don't need a striker to score. But honestly, 2-2, I definitely feel like is a good reality. I think it's because we're at St James's Park, we're at home, and I feel like the way we played against Aston Villa brings me a lot of confidence. It's not me being biased. Trust me, I'm really confident.
Newcastle United versus Liverpool. A very interesting game, maybe the biggest game of the week. Newcastle United's 0-0 draw with Villa was disciplined but blunt. No Isak, it's going to be a struggle. Liverpool's 4-2 win versus Bournemouth showcased chaos and cutting edge. If it opens up at St James's Park, Liverpool's forwards run riot. 3-1 over to Liverpool. They are the favourites and they will win.
I mean, ChatGPT, you're just throwing everything out what I said about Newcastle, and you're going straight for 3-1. Liverpool are the favourites, but no, how dare you, ChatGPT? And guess what, ChatGPT? You did worse than me in our predictions. But first of all, my goal of the week is going to Richarlison. Has to be. What a great bicycle kick. But as I was saying about ChatGPT, only got 5 points. I got 7 points, and the random football scoreline generator got just 2 points. Take that, ChatGPT, in your 3-1 Liverpool prediction. Newcastle aren't going to lose that game, and you're doing worse than me at our predictions.
If I top your 7 points this week, I want those exclusive bragging rights and a spot in the thumbnail for week 3's predictions. Challenge on.
You are not going to have the logo in your thumbnail for next week's video. What are you trying to do? You're trying to take over my channel. Mr. ChatGPT Loons, how dare you? But also, I've actually changed the week 1 predictions for the random number generator after I thought like it was too unrealistic scoring 9 goals in games for it to predict that. So I actually went onto Python and created a new model that had Realistica scorelines, but is still random. So I refreshed the week 1 predictions, and that's what I got. Just 2 points. But let me know what you think of everything. All of our predictions again, but I am so happy I'm beating ChatGPT. AI will never replace humans. But hopefully you have a fantastic day. And remember to check out my teaser trailer, because I'm really hyped for that Loons FC movie that I'm creating. But for now, toodaloo.